All right. I'm going to try to finish up these last few asks for you before the last episode of Season 2 airs. All right. Hobbit Hole 2, love your handle, says, thank you for all the time and effort you put into this. Your posts and videos are often bright spots in my day. Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed your take on Carol and Daryl's internal arcs. I would love to hear what you think Beth's internal arc will be when we see her again. What will she have to overcome before she and Daryl can be together? I mean, obviously anything I say here is just going to be conjecture, but I think we need to go back to what actually happened during the missing 17 days for this. I feel like she's probably going to have abandonment issues, and not in a way that's blaming anyone for what happened, but just because she got left behind, you know. I think she could have not exactly worthiness issues, but it would almost be, it would be weird. It would be an adjustment to kind of come back to the same group. And we also don't know exactly what she knows or what she believes. I mean, does she think the group is dead? Has she been looking for them? I think it's possible she never looked for them because she thought they all died. I've said before, I think it would be interesting if she ended up at Terminus and things got left behind there, like the riot gear and Daryl's old poncho. And, you know, if she found those there amidst a place that's burning and overrun with walkers, even if she didn't find walkers or bodies of people that she recognized because so many of them were burned, she still might assume that they all died there. So it'll just be interesting to see what it is she knows and what it is she believes. Beyond that, I mean, I don't know. I could certainly conjecture things based mostly on my headcanons, but I think it would be interesting if, I mean, at this point, she, much like Daryl, has had 2 relationships where people have died that she was in a relationship with. So there might be something around that, around thinking that anyone she gets into a relationship with ends up dying, and, you know, having some sort of limiting belief around that. So I don't know. I definitely could come up with some stuff, but I think that any internal arcs she does have will probably be based around what was actually going on at Grady and what happened during those missing 17 days. So it'll be a lot easier to figure that out once we see those. But until then, it's really all conjecture. So, and I keep saying that I'm going to write you guys a fan fiction. I have not had a chance to work on it yet, other than drafting, like basic planning for it. But that's very much because I've been doing work on the episodes as they come out, so I will get started on that once we don't have any more new episodes, and I will probably put some of those internal arcs in my headcanons into the fiction, so you can look forward to that. Okay, next one. So I ran into an anti-TDer / Beth hater in real life, and girl, let me tell you. Okay, yeah, I want to hear all the deets here. They insisted that she is 100% dead and not coming back, and she was shot directly in her head, very closely or underneath her chin, and I'm like, eye roll, can you mind your business and go get a life like a normal person? Like, please, thank you, next. Yeah, that sounds about right. You know, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be adding this in, but I actually was sent a couple of caroler posts that it was less about Beth and it was more about reasons they're angry that, you know, Carol isn't the center of attention in the show. And yeah, the things they come up with are just, they don't even make any sense. So yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that they're not watching very closely if they think she was shot under the chin, for one thing. So there's that. But they also don't want to watch very closely. Like, they're not interested in figuring out what was actually going on there, because I'm not going to say that all of them were happy that Beth got shot. I mean, I again, guys, there really are decent people out there who are carolers, and I've talked to a few of them, and they're very normal, right? It's the online, really vitriolic, trollish ones that everybody gets pretty annoyed with, but not all of them are like that. And I remember after Beth was shot, after Coda happened, there was a lot of people who came, not necessarily to me, because I wasn't actually online with an account yet at that point, but to Team Delusional in general, and were like offering genuine condolences and saying, you know, we understand that sucks and that hurts and that you liked that character and wanted them to be together. And that sucks for Daryl. It was really sad. And they were genuinely kind to us about it. Okay. Now, we don't get too much of them online. And I think a lot of times they don't want to be online because they don't want to be associated with some of these others that are more trolly. But yeah, the trolly ones, I guess, is the point. They are the ones that they're going to stick by what works for them, right? So this is what we always say. It's not even about them being mad about the age gap relationship. That's what they'll say it is. They'll say, oh, Beth was a teenager and we hated that because we felt like it was pedophilic. I don't even think most of them believe that. They just are looking for some reason for him and Beth not to be romantically involved because they don't like it, right? So that's the argument they fall back on. And it doesn't make sense because it's not true. And they don't care if it's true. They're going to argue it anyway. And it doesn't matter that they've said multiple times now this season that Melissa does have a lot of creative say. She is an executive producer. They did let her pretty much plan Carol's entire arc. She was the one who said, let's do some Sophia stuff. And they said, okay, that sounds good. It doesn't matter how many times they get told that clearly she is being treated well, and she does have just as much say in what happens as Norman does. They're still going to fall back onto these ridiculous arguments about how she's not being treated well, and all of the executive producers are sexist and chauvinistic, and it's just because they're not getting what they want, and they're going to continue to do that and find these ridiculous things to harp on as long as Carol and Daryl are not romantic and canon, and we all know that's not going to happen ever, so they're probably never going to shut up about it. So yeah, I can imagine how somebody that you meet in real life would be difficult to talk to, and you're not going to probably be able to reason with them. So anyway, thanks for sending that in. That kind of gave me a chuckle. And like you, yeah, I just kind of go, well, okay, whatever, eye roll, move on. Okay. Very Whisper Strawberry. Interesting handle. Okay, so you think it will be the end of season 3, possibly Beth's return. Will season 3 be when they are in Spain? So the Book of Carol had only 6 episodes. Also, I enjoy watching your YouTube videos and reading your theories and your symbolism. You gave me hope because I absolutely loved and have been a Betheler and a part of TD since 2014. So I look forward to your posts and your videos. Thank you. You're welcome. I always go back to 30 Days Without an Accident, Still and Alone, because those are 3 of my favorite episodes. When I'm feeling bad or had a bad day, those are my comfort shows, and I love all the fan fiction I read, and I am just so glad there are others out there that feel the same way. Thank you for all you do. You give me hope. I'm so glad. And you're welcome. Yeah, so I don't even know if it'll be the end of season 3. I just think it'll be in season 3 that we'll see her. And that's assuming they don't give us any kind of coda, but at this point, I'm not terribly hopeful that they're going to give us a coda. I think it'll probably be season 3. Yes, season 3 will be in Spain, and we've actually put together some other, not me, mostly other people have put together some really interesting symbols that are being given to us right now in season 2 that are pointing towards Spain in season 3. So in this last episode, episode 5, I did notice the strawberries. Strawberries have always been a really big symbol of Beth, and I noticed that they're in your username here. And I just thought, they're having Caudron eat strawberries, and while they're doing that, him and Laurent are talking about faith. I don't think you can really get around that being a Beth reference, because we saw strawberries around her in a very obvious way. We saw Daryl claiming the strawberries, which we always thought was him claiming Beth, not in a bad way, claiming like a romantic relationship with her. We all loved that, right? And then we saw them with her at Grady, and then of course she was the person who always talked about faith. So you just can't get around that as a reference. But then other TDers came out and they had bananas in the same conversation. We didn't actually see a banana, but they were talking about bananas. And they talked about how Spain is known for its bananas. So to me, I mean, I didn't know that. I didn't mention that in my video because I read that after I made the video, right? And I didn't know that Spain was known for its bananas. So they've kind of figured that it's a Canary Island reference, which other people like Galadriel Jones has put that together before, the Canary Islands, and that they were pointing toward that. So my point is they're giving us symbols right now that suggest Beth being in Spain. Like, to me, that's what that means. We had the bananas, we had them talking about, we had the strawberries, which is a Beth symbol. We had them talking about faith. We had a lot of her dialogue in this past episode. And then the bananas represent Spain, where we know that they're going to be in season 3. They've already told us that. And so that, to me, all of those things combined together tells me that they're going to find Beth. They're going to find the thing that the strawberry symbolizes, which is Beth, in Spain. So I do think that it'll be season 3. We're kind of wondering if they're going to have a subtitle for season 3. I mean, most of us would hope for Book of Beth, but they probably won't do that because that would be a dead giveaway for what's going to happen. But yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting if they don't do a subtitle, because that means they only did one for season 2. And yeah, that's a little strange, honestly. But anyway, so I do think it'll be season 3. I don't even necessarily think it'll be the end. I hope that it's earlier in the season, but of course we'll have to wait and see. And yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I'm glad that there's still people who've been here since 2014. Really, I've been here since 2015, so you've probably been here longer than I have. I guess I was a part of Team Delusional, and well, I was a Betheler in 2014, but I didn't start my account until 2015. I guess that's what I meant to say. But anyway, I feel you. We're here with you, and hopefully it won't be too long before we get season 3. But either way, as I keep saying, even though we really wanted to see her in season 2 and we didn't, I just felt like everything is so completely on track for us to see her that I'm not worried about it. It's just a matter of waiting a little bit longer for season 3. Okay. Another one by Very Whisper Strawberry. I got excited when Daryl fixed the Rubik's Cube into a yellow cross right after Laurent tells him Isabel said she loved him. He said nothing and handed him the Rubik's Cube. There were the strawberries. Also, most of the vehicles are either green or yellow. Yeah, I totally missed the yellow cross, so I had to go back and look at that. But yeah, it's another thing exactly like what I just said. He's talking about someone who loved Daryl, and Daryl starts to cry. And then we have this yellow cross. Yellow is a Beth symbol. The cross is a Beth symbol. So it's almost like saying that even though they're talking about Isabel here, which Isabel was also a heavy Beth proxy, everything that happened that seemed like a replay of Coda and Slabtown, and the fact that she had scars on her wrist very much. I mean, everything about her, right? So there's that too. But it almost seems like they're saying, even though that they were specifically talking about Isabel here, we could apply this to Beth. And even his emotions about it to Beth. So yeah, I really love that. This is another one saying the same thing. So in the latest episode of Daryl Dixon, when Daryl is talking with Laurent, I believe the first time in the episode, Laurent is fidgeting with his Rubik's Cube. When he is done with it, he puts the cube on the shelf behind him. I noticed it was fixed on a cross pattern. The white cross was heavily associated with Beth and Grady. That's true too. Yeah, I hadn't actually thought of that. The white cross was on the car to Grady, and yeah, for sure. Maybe whatever they were talking about in the scene with the white cross has some connection to Beth and Grady. Okay, I really hadn't read these asks before I started answering these, so we just came to the exact same conclusion. Good job. But yeah, I completely agree. And, that's maybe something we don't talk about quite enough. The fact that there was a white cross that symbolized Grady. Obviously, anytime we see a white cross, we connect it back to Grady and to Beth. But the fact that they used the white cross, it was almost like a foreshadowing of her crucifixion being there. And you could say that they knew that beforehand, and that's why they used the white cross as a symbol of Grady. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of hospitals, that are... that were founded as, like named after something religious, that probably use that or have in the past. But again, it was a purposeful choice for the writers to do that. They didn't have to do that, but they did that. And we also know that was true, that they knew that was going to be the case, because in episode, this is like, oh man, I haven't even thought about this in a while. In 401, when very near the beginning of the episode, so it's actually in the scene where Zach and Beth kiss, and then Daryl says the damn romance line. At the very beginning of that scene, before we even see Zach and Beth walk up to each other, Sasha is loading things into the back of the green car because they're getting ready to go to the big spot, and there are crates with a white cross on it. So even then, we had a foreshadow of Grady, and where was she putting them? Into like the trunk or the boot of the car. So yeah, I mean, it just goes back to me always saying, I do not believe for a second that they decided in episode 7 that they were going to kill her in 8. That does not make any sense, because they were foreshadowing exactly what happened in Coda more than a season ahead of time. So to say that is just utterly ridiculous, but it is just a misdirection so that people don't guess what's really going on. Okay, this is the last one that I currently have. Just a dumb joke, but Daryl's looking for ethanol, but he's going to find his Bethanol instead. Sorry, I had to tell someone. Hey, it works for me. I mean, we say ethanol is a symbol of her, so why not call it Bethanol? It's like we should come up with team delusional dad jokes and tell them. I would be okay with those jokes. They would. I'm just enough of a geek that I would probably laugh way too hard at every single one of them. So thank you for sending that in. That was a good one to end on. All right, guys. I don't know if I'll get around to another video, but this is all of the asks I currently have in my inbox. Well, okay. I will say that I have 2 or 3 others that I haven't answered because either, like, I don't want to yet for some reason. I've got one that I need to watch a video in order to answer it, and that has been in my inbox for a long time, and I just have not gotten around to watching the video. And then I have one that I just want to wait a little bit longer to answer. So, but anyway, other than those 2, I've answered all of them that I have, and I don't know that I will get around to doing another video until Sunday, but yeah, we'll get the 6th and final episode of season 2 on Sunday. I am actually excited to watch it because even though I've seen, like I said, I've seen enough of the spoilery clips that I know kind of how it's going to come together in the important ways, I'm still excited to see it beginning to end in its full context, because when I do, for most of the episodes, I just get a lot more out of them than by just seeing spoiler clips. So I am excited to watch the whole thing. So yeah, I will be back on Sunday, if not before, and yeah, talk to you guys then.